Greetings, wholeness, blessings. Next succession of seedlings. We'll talk about those a little bit later on in the month. But I'm going to get those into the low tunnel over there. And today is May 7th, and which means it's the day to scythe, or use my scythe. I'm going to scythe the whole pasture, and I just did this little section right here because I've been backing in right here. I've been rolling over the grass, so now I have a nice little room to back in, and without running over the grass, maybe let this grow up for like a nice little buffer with the river, and that leaves it up for like there to be another little parking spot in case somebody else comes over here to help me or visit the farm. And I just did this little bit, this little edge right here, and the peas are coming up wonderfully. Peas, Oregon snow pea, dwarf variety, garlic, 4 rows, lettuce, more garlic, 3 rows all the way down. And I'm not going to talk so much about the plot. We can get into more updates on that later in the month. But what I want to talk about is scything the pasture. So I just scythed this whole edge, laying the grass on top of grass. So I'm gonna build this edge barrier so the grass stops growing up, and then I'm gonna plant pumpkins. Around the whole border. Got more peas coming up. And then, so this is 80 by 80, 1/8 of an acre plot. And I'd say this is probably a little bit bigger than that. And at the other pasture, I would scythe like a 1/2 acre. So I'd say this is probably almost equivalent between back there and over there. But I got these 3 rows done. 1, 2, 3. Scythed, raked, scythed, raked, scythed, raked. And that will leave up for the rest of the pasture. And I'm going to take this grass, and just like I did here, putting it on the edge, I'm going to establish this edge as well. So I'll put it basically working my way from the outside in. And once I get the edge established around the entire plot, then I'll start taking the grass to lay on top of all of the lesser weed and scabious that's coming up, and grass. So that is where I'm at right now, and you can see those elderberries cuttings are taking very nicely. Got a whole row of elderberry cuttings. Should be good for sale, more propagation, planting out on the land. And if you look at the pasture, you can see that it was dominantly, oh, this is where I wanted to go look out, but it was dominantly the scabious, which is this, and the lesser weed. But you can tell there's a whole bunch of other characters here. There's cleaver, there's red or white clover, there's dandelions, and there's a whole bunch of different grasses that want to come up. And so now that I've chopped down all of the, well, you can see right here, this is what it just looked like. It's dominantly the lesser weed, that, and the scabious, and there's some good grass in there too, dandelions. But so now, the next succession of grass will grow. This pasture has been, it's been in pasture for 150 years, and it's just been bush hogged for the past, I don't even know how many, 20, 30. So it's basically been in a cover crop for 150 years, and there's a lot of compaction here, but it's a very wet site because all of the water comes right down off of the mountain and basically into this valley. So here we are, and you'll be able to see that when I come back to mow this again in a month, that it's going to be nice luscious grass, and the lesser weed and the scabious are going to start to get choked out, and more characters like the clover, the cleaver, and the dandelion greens will be able to take on a more of a life. So it'll just, by changing, you can see all these little seeds germinating. So there's a whole bunch of different other, oh, and I also had seen some, this is some wild hairy vetch, also nitrogen fixer, like the red clover. So you got to imagine we're taking all these nutrient dense herbs and putting them on the garden for fertility. So just like you would feed these nutrient dense greens to your animals, the macro herd, we're taking all these nutrient dense greens and feeding them to the microbiology of the soil. And so here is a good little trifecta. So just for where we started at my truck, all the way over to this stick right here has been scythed with a European scythe once. Now, when it looked like this, when I got here in October, all of this is the scabious, or no, I'm sorry, this is the lesser weed when it grows up to its flower. They're both a purple flower, and this is what it just looked like. So this is what it looked like when I got here, basically October. This is what it looked like after I had mowed it in the fall. Then it grew up this spring, and now this is what it looks like. So you can see that we're bringing back the grasses and helping to make the pasture more biodiverse, and a very much less compaction practice. So instead of there being a sorry, this homie's coming up on the truck. Instead of there being a tractor bush hogging this entire pasture, there is a European scythe and a man walking over it. So the disturbance that you input on the land is a direct response to what wants to grow in the pasture. And this homie is over here, so I'm gonna go link up with him and we're gonna go do some work. So one love, wholeness, peace and blessings. That is the first pasture scythe, the first scythe of the pasture update.
Peace, wholeness.